Welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 47, Episode 2 of SNL with host Kim Kardashian West and musical guest Halsey. I'm Katherine Coleman, and I'm joined this week by NYC-based sketch comedians Charlotte O'Trimba and Laura Ornella. You can connect with Charlotte and Laura on Instagram at Charlotte O'Trimba and at _Laura Ornella. And you can find us at snlpodcast.com. All right, here we go. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Well, thank you so much, Catherine. That was a beautiful intro, a one-take wonder.
Thank you. Yeah, look at me go. I've grown so much. You know, in my second season hosting the podcast, I've finally learned the intro like the back of my hand.
Flawless.
But yeah, I hope you're ready to talk about this episode with a host that a lot of people were really nervous about, and then I think ultimately performed. And it's chock full of cameos, so a lot to talk about. But first, I want to make sure everybody knows who you are. So, Charlotte, you'll remember Charlotte from episodes last season. It's so great to have you back, Charlotte. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. I am so happy to be back, especially talking about this episode. You know, there's a lot of discussion ahead of time, so I'm eager to get into it. And as Catherine said, I'm a sketch comedian as well, and I am on the same team as her this year. So I'm very excited to be working with Catherine even more, and excited to dive in.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to lead with that.
I mean, really.
Charlotte was nice enough to join the team I'm directing and has already written an amazing sketch that I can't wait to produce for our show at the end of the month.
So pumped. So kind.
And speaking of my sketch teams, another person from a different sketch team I'm on, Laura Ornella from my Boogie Munja team, Wilburn. She is a character actress, a comedian, and the founder of a comedy platform, Humor Darling. So, Laura, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I have no clue how you're able to do 2 sketch teams and 2 podcasts. So you're the true superhero in the room.
Yeah,
I'm a busy person, but it's all fun.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
That's the good part of it. So, Laura, tell us a little bit. We like to do this thing to make sure the audience can trust you to critique the show that they love. So, you know, I know you got the qualifications. Tell the audience about it and what's your SNL story. How'd you get into the show? Do you watch it every week? Are you more casual, etc.?
I am more casual with watching SNL, but that's not to say I don't love character actors. It's something that is a big focus in my life, creating characters and workshopping them. So I feel very connected to SNL in the way that I see people rise up in the ranks and then eventually join the cast. And it's just really thrilling to even start by, you know, watching at your local theater, seeing who gets selected for JFL, and then ultimately seeing who gets chosen for SNL and just seeing that whole journey progress for them. So I don't always watch it every week, but I feel like having taken class and having it be my passion, I know what goes into it. And for them to do it weekly, it's like near miraculous. So
that's right.
So true.
For sure. All right. Well, y'all ready to dive into the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
For the cold open, the Senate Judiciary Committee has some questions for the Facebook whistleblower. Like, how big is the algorithm? And is it pronounced May? So this one was fun. Certainly the talk of the week. I don't know if you all saw, but I certainly watched the actual clip of the guy asking about Finsta. That was hilarious. And we have a new Lindsey Graham impression. So Charlotte, take it away. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought this was, you know, a good cold open. I'm not a huge fan of these political cold opens, but it is their kind of go-to, and it gives everybody a chance to do a great impression of one of the politicians. You know, a great standout was obviously Cecily. I love her. Diane finds, Senator Diane, and she just does this hilarious voice. And yeah, I think, you know, James Austin Johnson is crushing it already this season, and I thought his Graham impression was hilarious. And then 80 as Senator Cruz taking personal notes for why his Facebook is, has all these trolls. I think it was just a solid cold open political sketch. It's never my favorite, to be honest, but I think it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I thought it worked. One thing I really did appreciate about it was it was a little quicker than normal. So they were doing a lot of quick cuts and sort of one-off lines from various people on the committee, which they don't do a lot. And I don't know if it's because of the potential of missed camera cuts or what, but they tend to shy away from that, maybe to allow room for audience laughter. But this one, from a timing sense, felt much tighter than a lot of others. And I really appreciated that and getting a lot of those sort of one-liners.
That's true.
And then the tiniest thing, and I don't know, did y'all watch it live or did you watch just the Hulu, Peacock, YouTube version?
Yeah, the latter.
Mm-hmm. So an interesting thing in the live version, there was a line when James Austin Johnson was saying, "I have one more question," and the camera cut missed. It didn't cut to him. And he said the line and the camera lingered on whoever was on it before him. And then it cut to him and then he delivered the line again. But he delivered it in such a way that it seemed very natural. Like he would just be repeating that thing. And James didn't seem flustered at all, which I thought was great. This is his second episode ever in the cold open. It's a missed camera cut, something that I feel like you could quickly start spiraling about.
Of course.
Oh God, do I repeat the line? Do I not repeat the line? What do I do? But he just handled it like a pro, as if he's been there forever. So I really wanted to call that out. I thought that was great. Laura, how'd this cold open land for you?
Yeah, I definitely noticed that as well with James, that I felt like I didn't see the missed camera cut, but just overall with his Lindsey Graham impression, he's just such a natural. And I've always known he flourishes in impressions. So this is just another thing to add to his bucket of impressions. And I understand what you're saying. I feel like sometimes the political ones can come off as a bit dry. I found this one quite interesting. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed 80. I enjoyed Kyle Mooney's performance too. I'm such a big fan of him. So if you're listening, but I definitely get what you're saying about the political ones not being your fave. I feel like oftentimes it's presidential podium at giving a speech to the nation sort of thing. And so I appreciated too the quick cuts. I feel like it just kept the energy moving for the opening,
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I also think too, this one had a clearer point or satire point, in that all of these politicians are so clearly out of touch with current technology and social media, and that they have to handle these hearings and ultimately make some sort of decision. And the fact that every single one was clearly so out of touch, I think that part also made it better, was that there was sort of this clear message behind the scenes along with all this hilarious writing and impressions and performances.
Yeah, it was a fun premise. And definitely, I wouldn't say the most creative, but a much more creative than President at Podium. Open.
Exactly.
All right. Well, very last thing I want to mention, because I would be remiss if I didn't. Pete as Tom from MySpace.
Yeah.
Loved it. But did you hear in the audience there was a girl not just screaming because she loved Pete, but screaming as if she was actively being stabbed?
So come on by.
Or was she screaming because she loved Tom? I mean, you can't just assume it was all Pete.
Right.
That's true. Or maybe
solid MySpace fan.
But we can't assume she wasn't being stabbed either, because it sounded much more like that.
Come on by.
Well, let's move along to the monologue. Kim Kardashian West set out to prove she's more than a pretty face, good hair, great makeup, amazing boobs, and the perfect butt. Charlotte, the monologue win?
2 wins for me, which is 1, the writing. So I thought the writing was this great mix of poking fun at herself and her family, but not being too mean towards anybody, And it was all just so relevant and funny. And I have to say, I was very impressed with Kim's delivery and her timing, her pacing. You know, she wasn't too fast. You know, you'll see sometimes hosts that aren't, even hosts that are actors who aren't maybe comedy performers or used to live performances, sort of get nervous with all of the energy of the crowd and speed through. Kim didn't, and she took the pauses for the laughs and she smiled at the audience. I mean, I was very impressed with Kim Kardashian West's delivery, and I was a fan, and I thought the monologue was a huge win overall. I laughed through it, especially the Corey line.
Yeah, they came with some heat.
Yeah.
Kim was down to clown.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that. But she was surprisingly game to like make fun of herself, which I did not anticipate. And not just herself, but her whole family and their persona and everything. And I really appreciated that because with a lot of these guests, you're just really not sure. Like with Elon last season, you're like, is he gonna let them just make fun of him? So I liked that, and I thought this had some really great jokes, albeit with a few clumsy transitions, which I'm honestly not sure if it was the writing or the delivery there, but nonetheless, I thought each piece of it was really, really great. And yeah, Kim, I think she was a little stiff, but not the most stiff we've ever seen for sure.
No.
And she was showing that she had such a good attitude about it that it did make I was on board with her for like, let's see where this episode takes us. She's here. She's game to play. Let's see where it goes. And Laura, are you feeling similarly to Charlotte and I?
I think so, yes. I was watching and my jaw just dropped because I felt the same way. I was so shocked. Like, for me, I was like, how did the writers of this monologue like navigate how far they could go? Because it wasn't mean by any means, but it was shocking to me. And I was like, wow, I can't believe she's saying that with such a good attitude. So I was really impressed, not just with Kim, but all involved in the creation of this monologue.
Yeah. And shout out to Jasmine Pierce, I believe, wrote it with someone else. But
Jasmine's great. Yeah. Reductress writer originally, I believe, right?
Yeah. Well, let's get into our sketch fair. Up first, Aladdin confesses to Jasmine that he's a little insecure and worried that she'll just break his thing right off. Laura, what'd you think of this one?
It was interesting. I didn't think it was the most unique sketch I had seen in the show. I liked, the other little carpet, like sort of curving over to say, hey, I thought that was comical with
Swerving
Keaton and Cecily. But it wasn't my most favorite, I'll be honest.
That's fine.
Yeah. That's pretty much all.
What do you think wasn't working for it with you?
I honestly just think the concept, like, I guess maybe I feel like if you're going to do Aladdin, that there's so much more to make fun of. It was like a funny bit, but I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe I was like waiting for the other characters. And thank God Bowen came in as a genie, which was like a nice topper. I really enjoyed that.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like maybe the world could have been fleshed out a little more.
Okay. So I'll come at it from a different perspective.
Yeah. Please.
So if I'm hearing you right, you're sort of thinking there's more to do with Aladdin, right? But I sort of looked at it as there is this idea that exists in the world that for a guy, it can be intimidated by someone who looks like Kim Kardashian, right?
Yeah,
and like
sure.
that's definitely the notion behind this is like, wow.
And all of her boyfriends that she's had. If you look at,
like you would be like, oh God. So to me, it's like they're taking this idea, and I actually thought it was kind of clever to say, well, that's kind of like Aladdin and Jasmine, and map it onto them. So to me, I wasn't looking for more Aladdin world. I was like, oh, this is a fun way to map this feeling onto something we know that I thought gave it a little bit more legs than just if they had been on a date, like definitely more creative than addressing it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was actually kind of clever. It wasn't my favorite sketch overall. Like I don't think it was pretty much middle of the road for me. but I did think that was interesting. And then from a production standpoint, they green screened like half the studio for this. So that's hard to do. They had it's a little bit more complicated than setting up, say a restaurant or a classroom, right?
Yeah.
So not that those are easy. Like if you've seen the show, you know that like it's a NASCAR pit crew to go in there and put the stuff together. But putting up all these green screens is a completely unique challenge. So from a production standpoint, I was very impressed that they managed to get all that ready in time. And that was really cool.
Yes.
Agree.
Charlotte, where are you going to land on this?
I agree with all points. Because the thing is, I do agree with Laura. Like there were parts that fell flat for me. And I can't quite put my finger on it because Catherine, I agree with you. Like I knew what they were going for. It does make sense for all the reasons you've said. Kim is this beautiful person. She's Armenian. She like it maps on, and had all the famous boyfriends. Like maps on. So I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I loved the interaction with Keenan and Cecily, like Laura said. Maybe we wanted more of that. Like maybe that would have been funny to see. And I do think, I don't know if it was from delivery or because it was almost too soon, but those first lines that Kim delivers as Jasmine about like, oh, is it because I forget now, like I'll, have like, because you're a street rat or, I think those lines were really funny. And for some reason they just got lost. So, I don't know if, maybe it was just, delivery or timing or something. So yeah, like all the ingredients were there, but it was almost like the oven temperature was wrong or something. And it didn't quite all happen.
It almost feels like there was like, now that I'm really starting to work with everyone's responses, I'm like, it almost feels like there was a lot of air at the top of the sketch. And I think
and maybe if it had just
can lead to maybe that's what it was. It's just like a little too much air and the pacing was just a little off. But I think they got back on track, especially when Cecily and Keenan came through and then with Bowen wrapping it up. Yeah.
So at the top, one thing that stood out to me was, okay, this is, our first sketch with Kim in it, and they've paired her with Pete. Which seems like an interesting choice because Kim was ready. She was having fun, but Kim's not an actress. Right?
Yeah.
Pete's not the best actor on the cast. So to open it up with them two having to hold the sketch on their own felt a little awkward.
That's a really good point. And I think I would agree with you. If you would have gotten a real pro in there, like Cecily, I mean, obviously it has to be a guy. So even if Keenan or somehow could, or Mikey Day or like, I think I totally agree with you. Someone a little more seasoned could have really carried her.
All right. So not a home run right here out of the bat, but let's see where the next one takes us. The night does not go as expected for these
grown-ass women in the club, boss-ass women in the club, probably too old for the club, ain't nowhere to sit in this whole ass club.
Laura, did you enjoy this one?
I did. I really loved this one. I felt like the pacing was right on. And my first watch of it, I just cracked up. The most memorable part would be like Ego like shoving her feet into the ice. What do you call them? The buckets.
For sure. Yeah, I really, really loved this one. At first I was on board with it the whole time, but at first I was like, okay, it's sort of they're gonna do that whole expectations versus reality thing. We've sort of seen this before. But then they found some really fun things to do with it that we haven't seen before. So like talking about how this song's faster than I remember, that's really funny to me. And then the diarrhea jokes killed me.
So good.
The more I talk on this podcast, I guess I'm working through some things. I'm realizing I do love a good toilet joke, I guess. Because
we are children at heart.
I'm like, that fart was so funny. But that really got me. And then the callback to it was so unexpected that I just really loved it. And that put me on. And so then by the time we're getting to like the traffic, I was just having a really good time with it. And SNL music video is always well produced. Charlotte, were you feeling it as much as I was?
I was totally feeling it. I totally agree with you. I also love the toilet jokes. It was so great. And I actually loved the nap part, like just of Kim just continuing to fall asleep.
2 power naps.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have anything more to say. You know, you guys, yeah. It's what we're all feeling now.
Yeah. It's just
when
a
we go
good
out.
time.
Yeah.
So many truisms here too. Like I love the notion of Cecily's like, I'm going out and I'm gonna eat a bunch of dessert. Like that's her treat, you know? All right. Let's move right along. Kim has plenty of men to choose from on The Dream Guy, with cameos from John Cena, Blake Griffin, Jesse Williams, Chris Rock, Tyler C., Chase Crawford, and surprisingly, Amy Schumer. So this was our not Bachelorette yet Bachelorette parody. Charlotte, was it a win?
I guess if you were counting how many celebrities you could fit into a sketch, it would for sure win gold medal. I mean, it's a fun sketch. I don't watch The Bachelor or Bachelorette, so I feel like I don't always totally relate to this. Whereas I feel like, you know, my friends who watch those shows, they found the sketch extra hilarious. I thought it was fun and funny. It makes sense for Kim Kardashian because she's newly single and she's beautiful, and then getting all these celebrities in to try to win her attention. Like, it all makes sense. I'm like, yes, this makes sense to do this sketch. And I thought all the funny quips about all of these guys, you know, they were really funny, you know, about like Chris Rock, you know, making her watch his 9 specials and him mouthing the words, and like Chase Crawford reminding everybody that he's also on The Boys and not just Gossip Girl in the past. Great. The Amy Schumer bit, totally unexpected. I loved it. So I laughed at those individual moments. Is this sketch totally up my alley? Not really, but I appreciate it. And I thought it was a great choice for the show.
Sure. Laura, where'd you land?
Yeah, I also really don't watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. That's a show, right? That is on as well. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise.
And I don't watch Love Island, but I don't know. That probably fits into the world. I, again, just love Kyle Mooney. So I was just like, I don't know these other men. I knew Chris Rock. I knew a few people in there, but I don't know these other men. And I'm just here for Kyle. And that's, to me, immediately I was like, I don't know. Bring him in sooner. That's like where I stood on that. Like, I felt like we were all waiting to see what that character was about. And to save him sort of dead last, I guess I felt like if I were to rework it, it would be bringing Kyle up a little earlier. And I don't know how, but I also don't work for SNL. So,
well, yeah, I mean, that's my big note too, is that like the cameos are great and they're fun. And I get why they put them in there because they're crowd pleasers. You know, it's exciting and people are going to watch the sketch because they hear these guys are in it. I get that. But the funny thing here, at least to me, is that one of these things is not like the other. Yeah. Like, how did Kyle get in with these guys? And so I like you said, Laura, I would have loved to get into that sooner and do more with that. And that's not to say, like Charlotte was saying, all the individual things worked. Like, they were funny little things about each person. But that wasn't the most fertile ground in the sketch for me. So yeah, it's interesting choices were made here. If you like the cameos and that's what you're watching for, then this is going to be a huge win for you. But I think it definitely left me a little wanting. It sounds like it left you all that way too.
yes.
Agree.
All right. Well, let's keep going. Kim longs for a simple, normal, basic, mundane, run-of-the-mill, boring life. So she switches places with 80. Ouch. Charlotte, did this work for you?
Yes, this worked for me. I mean, I love that this has become an ongoing theme of 80 interacting with celebrities and getting to kind of be her funny, quirky self, really, or an exaggerated form of herself, and how she would interact with the celebrity. So I love this concept. I loved having Chris and Chloe in it. I thought this was a crowd pleaser. You know, unfortunately, Kim's not an actress, so her impressions of 80 sort of fell flat. And so that was unfortunate. Like those.
It was fun to watch her try, though.
Yeah.
It's true.
We appreciated it. And like, look, the times when the editing crew could help her out, like when she has to have sex with 80's husband. I mean, that was hilarious. Like, I thought they all played that really well in that sort of running joke. But as a whole, I loved the part of 80 on the photo shoot and her full bush being out. And
Oh my God.
I just thought there were so many funny moments. So I appreciated it. I appreciated the concept. Just some parts fell flat, and what can you do? Like,
Yeah, I really like it when they go into like the SNL cinematic universe. These sketches are really fun, and like you said, Charlotte, this is in the vein of like they did 80B and then 80 Bizzo with Cardi B and Lizzo, respectively. But this went in sort of a different direction than those, because in those she's trying to emulate and win acceptance and love from those celebrities who have these big personas. And in this one, we got this fun layer of them switching places, which gave us that fun Kim Kardashian tries to do an 80 impression, which it wasn't spot on, no, but was it fun? Yes.
it happened.
Right. And like, so it's a good twist on how these usually play. And what a great blackout line with sleeping with 80's husband.
Yeah.
That's
So
really
good.
fun. Laura, what are your thoughts on The Switch?
Well, I really enjoyed 80's desperation. I felt like maybe I connect a little too much with it, but I really enjoyed the point she got to with like not wanting to let go of being Kim.
Mhm.
I didn't mind Chloe and Chris's acting. I totally agree. I don't think that they're like, sort of natural actors, but I thought it really worked. And it just like Chloe asking like what that drink was, and it's like a milkshake.
Yeah, that
It's
was
just like,
funny.
I was just like, I love that, like that was a part of it. I also really enjoyed how they wrapped it all up with 80 then transitioning to like being Chris's position, and Chris, everybody switching roles like that. I thought that was very smart. It's hard to wrap things like that up, so I give them credit for that. It felt very like on beat for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sounds like we all agree that one was a win.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's keep going. Shonda and Rhonda have your winning lottery numbers: screwdriver, mustache, finger, blood. This was the highlight of the night for me. I just loved how silly this was, but yet totally grounded, yet also off the rails. Like I loved it, and what really sold it, because it could have gotten stale and just a silly thing comes out, different silly thing comes out, different silly thing comes out, and it can be anything once one. It's insane, right? But the way, I mean, they heightened it really well to where the things were fully insane. But all the different sub games were so great. So we have, the anchors are competing, the sports guy doesn't know the scores, and then like the lottery ladies have like increasingly weird like transitions. So I was just having so much fun with this, and I didn't expect to once it started, but then I was fully on board with it. So I loved it. Laura, did you enjoy it as much as I did? It's okay if you didn't.
I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much, but I will say this. This is like maybe an odd note that I just thought, I noticed throughout the whole show that Aristotle had these little bit parts. And I really think that the little bit parts he has, he really makes a meal out of them. And maybe this wasn't my favorite sketch in the whole show, but there was just something very captivating for like throughout the show, these little parts. And he was in that one as the handyman losing his finger. And you just gotta hand it to like one of the new guys, like really running with parts like that. So that really caught my eye in this.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, he definitely was scattered. He was peppered throughout the episode, making a mark. Charlotte, where are you gonna land?
Yeah, I have to agree with both of you. Like well, I guess yeah, I mean, I guess maybe leaning a little more towards Catherine, but I agree about Aristotle. I thought this was hilarious and super goofy, and agree with Catherine. I think what made it funnier than it could be than if it was just the game was that the balls get more extreme in their error. But had it been at a regular news station, I don't think it would have been as funny as what they did, which is that everybody there is slightly incompetent and just completely out to lunch. So I thought, except for Keenan's always kind of the straight man. I mean, even he's like still a little out there, but yeah, I thought this was just so goofy and funny. And I will say though, it took me my second time to pick up on some of those lines a bit more. So I found it funnier the second time I watched it as opposed to the first time. But I do think I want to give them credit in that, I mean, not that, it worked well with Kim's demeanor. So like they sort of played into that in a good way, which is her strengths of kind of like, she can play that character of being really sort of like dry and ditzy. And so she like just did that to an extreme, and then Cecily obviously crushed it. And so I think that made it really funny too. I just give them credit for playing into that strength. And choosing
do you guys remember the other sketch? It was a while back. It was Cecily Strong and Vanessa Bayer. It was reoccurring, and they were two women trying to sell things.
Yeah,
I can't quite remember right now.
Jewelry like Bulgari.
Yeah, and the like the hands were always like all over. This is what that reminded me of, and I think that like I enjoyed that so much then that when I saw a variation of it now, I couldn't help but just remember that then. And like, it didn't, and so I think that's where like, for me, the element of surprise wasn't there because it felt so familiar. But all that to say, Cecily still got it. Yeah. And I think like, I mean, it can work in many worlds. And like, it really worked for Kim as a host to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I try to work on with my writing is just like really just going as crazy as possible. And so I strive to write something as ridiculous as Handyman gets shot through lottery tube. That's my new goal.
Yeah. They love a good blood bit, I have to say.
They do.
Some bright red faux blood.
Okay, so a win there. Maybe more marginal for Laura than for me, who adored it, but that's okay. That's why we have a panel. Let's talk about Halsey. She performed I Am Not a Woman, I'm a God and Darling, featuring Lindsey Buckingham. Charlotte, are you a Halsey fan, and what'd you think of this?
I am. I mean, I'm not like a loyal fan. I can't say I like listen to her all the time, but every time I hear her, I'm like, God, what a voice. And she just had a baby. Like, didn't she just have a baby? I mean, she freaking crushed this. She crushes it every time.
On Twitter, she posted she was like pumping milk backstage in between performances. What a goddess.
I can't. I mean, I love her. I do. Every time she performs on SNL, she kills it. And I also love that she does something completely different every time she comes. Like, I still remember that one performance she did where she drew something while singing. It was just her on stage. I mean, that was so cool. And even the two songs were so different. One in the all black and the really sort of dark, and the vibe of the song was so different from the second one where it was just her on stage with Lindsey with a guitar. So I respect her. I mean, I think she's great. I loved it. Love her when she's on SNL. And whenever she does a cameo, she's great too. She did a great cameo. So
yeah, I like Halsey a lot. The first song in particular, super catchy and fun. You know, I was dancing. I was having a good time with it. I'm not sold on her current haircut, but you know that's a me problem. That's not a Halsey problem. That's a me problem, and I'm okay with that.
She got it for you though.
Blew it.
She never told you, huh?
No, it never came up when I saw her last.
It's just a her and me combo. Yeah.
No. But yeah, the second song I wasn't feeling as much, which is interesting because last week on the show I was like, yeah, I love singer-songwriter acoustic stuff, but this one just it wasn't.
Except this one.
It just
That was
wasn't
last
catching
week,
me.
Catherine.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is
Wow.
a new Catherine every week, guys. But I think it comes down to, and we'll get to it as we discuss the rest of the show. But at that point, I needed something to pump me back up, and this did not do that, obviously.
Mhm.
So that one just wasn't quite what I needed. Again, a me problem. But Halsey's a hell of a performer, and she shows that every time she comes on, and this was definitely no exception to that. And so, Laura, did you have fun with Halsey?
I did. I have never listened to her before, and I don't know what world I'm in because I like have seen billboards with her. I have seen her name on Spotify. I don't know. I even kind of like somehow have Wikipedia'd the origin of her name because I like live near the Halsey stop. But I'm like, where am I that I've like never listened to her until SNL? It
She's got
is
some
very
good stuff.
interesting.
Check it out.
I think I should try to fight against my 30s because this is what's happening. Here's the thing. Now, when I saw Lindsey Buckingham, I was like, well, okay, that's a celebrity to me. It's like, might as well just warm my heat pack up and get my tea. But I mean, he's so great with her. I understand what you're saying about energy wise. Because I felt similarly like, okay, it's like a tamer song. You're going through the show, definitely having that revitalization. But I enjoyed it because I'm like, whenever I can see Lindsey Buckingham play guitar, I think it's just like stunning to watch. And now now I'm very aware she's an amazing singer. I'm like several years late as usual.
That's okay. I'm usually on that page, but she's been on SNL like 5 times, so I know who she is.
I actually knew that too. Yeah.
I mean, she performed at the Victoria's Secret fashion show, I'm pretty sure, like a few years ago. Back
Where
when they
was
had them.
I? Not at the fashion show.
I'm not watching that.
I know.
All right. So yeah, Halsey never ceases to impress. Let's get into Weekend Update. For their lead-in, Jost and Shay break down the drama with Facebook and take some shots at R. Kelly. Charlotte, what'd you think of Update this week?
Listen, I love Update. I love Michael Che and Colin Jost. I didn't feel like this was their strongest week. I just think the jokes fell a little bit flat. And I even think they noticed the jokes fell a little flat. And it's still great. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. There was nothing that really gave me that full belly laugh. And maybe that's just sort of what the news was this week. And yeah, I don't know. So it was fine. Yeah, it worked.
Yeah,
I was like here. Yeah, like middle.
I agree completely. Like there was good stuff in here, but it wasn't quite had the energy level that last week had.
Yeah.
Like the highlights to me were, we had our first Mitch McConnell seen here ... joke of the season. I love those. A very biting George Floyd joke that I liked. / NYPD joke, and then the one about Colin's like Nazi grandma is
that was very funny to me.
That was funny. Yeah, that was funny.
But yeah, I agree. Overall, not quite the high highs that we've seen from Jost and Shay, but it wasn't a complete miss by any means. Laura, where'd you land?
Yeah, I'm torn too because I mean it is kind of a good thing we didn't have a ton to like no news is good news, but I think it wasn't. I'm on the same page as you both. I don't think it was the most stunning Weekend Update, but I will say, watching them together, I'm sure it's obvious to everyone like how close they are because they work together, every week. I just really enjoyed Michael just throwing Colin's picture up there on that joke, and it just really made me think about like the joy of getting close with a comedy partner and like taking risks. So I think that was a little something personal for me, but yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, they never lose, but we have to critique them sometimes. So
we have to. We're professors of SNL. I mean,
that's right. let's talk about Terry Fink. Here to review some movies. And spoiler alert, Paw Patrol got 10 teeny tiny Terrys. Laura, did you appreciate Alex's performance at the desk?
I really did. I really liked it. Yeah, you were talking about one of your goals being to write something as ridiculous as a handyman getting their finger stuck in. I think one of my goals would be to go as ridiculous as that character went. Not everyone's gonna get it. And I just thought, for those that did, it was a total win.
Fair enough. This was actually the second appearance of Terry Fink.
Yeah.
And I was a really big fan of the first one. I don't know if y'all necessarily seen it, but it was just delightful. And this one was too, but it didn't necessarily add anything new to it as before. So that just made it not quite knock it out of the park for me. If this was your first exposure to it, then like you're gonna love it. But if you're comparing it, I think the first outing was a little stronger. But Alex is great. He sold it. I love him. I wish they used him a little bit more because I think he's really, really great. And then all those transitions, like back to you, Jamal, are just so fun. And I love that they just find ways to, always give you a curveball on those. But yeah, a little less warm on this one than the original outing. Charlotte, how'd you feel about it?
I loved this. I mean, this was my favorite, if not second favorite, bit of the night. So I thought it was hilarious. For some reason, I'm not remembering the first time, which is crazy. I feel like I watch it every week. So for whatever reason, I missed the first one.
It was probably a couple seasons ago. I don't remember the exact episode.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nuts.
It's been a minute.
Okay. Well, I mean, he sounds exactly like the guy in the cabs. I'm guessing that's on purpose. I even looked up the name Sandy Kenyon. Oh my God. No, this is an exact impression of an actual movie reviewer. That's why it's so fun.
Oh.
So if you're
I love how niche this is.
So I grew up, I don't know, Laura, did you grow up in New York or New York City area?
No.
Okay, so there's this, I think it's either, it's saying ABC7, but I need to double check. But basically, he's been this movie reviewer on local radio in New York City, like for all of my life. Like, I don't even know this guy never dies. So Alex Moffat sounds exactly like him, which is why it's funny. So, and he also, his bit, like, at least my gripe with the guy is that his review is never really a review. He just sort of says the obvious and he'll be like, oh, like 007. And he'll make a joke exactly like that. Like, you should go see it. It's fun and have a martini. Like, so I think that maybe is those two reasons. I didn't see the first one. And I immediately thought of the actual reviewer, which if you guys are, next time you ride in a yellow cab, you will likely hear him and he'll give a movie review if you turn on the sound on the little TV.
Yes.
And so just be on the lookout. So I think that being like expecting a mundane movie review and instead this guy has taken LSD and he's going to a 25, I thought was so hilarious and really worked. So this was like my favorite or second favorite piece of the night. And I just got to give props to the writing and to Alex. Like, it was hilarious. I loved it. And I loved the interaction with Colin and how the names for him got more extreme and how first he says no mouth and then he's trying to catch him. And I loved it.
Well, on that note, shout out. It was written by Will Steven with Alex, of course.
Shout out.
Yeah, good job. So yeah, it sounds like this one was a win. And my problem with it is once again, a me problem. I watched the first one too many times. That's where we went wrong.
I'm gonna have to watch the first one now.
I'll send it to you when we're done here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's keep going. Our next feature, life coach Kelly Party doesn't care, and she loves it. And now, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago on our preseason podcast, the SNL Afterparty is very openly biased toward Heidi Gardner because we get to work with her on Where We Were When, which is her podcast. So I'm going to let you two do most of the talking on this one to be just a fair resource for the fans. Laura, what'd you think of this character?
I think throughout this whole show, it's reminded me like how far commitment to character gets you. And I think that Heidi has something about her that is just so charming. Like everything she really does is just very charming. And maybe it's just because she commits, you know? So it wasn't the most like crazy character I've ever seen, but it was like just lovable. I don't know. It was just like enjoyable to like see her like sort of Josh. Can you say Josh around with? I could say that.
I think so.
Josh around with Michael Che. Yeah. And also that song, I had like, again, not heard that song since like 2013. And I was just like, I still love it. So I would go party with life coach Kelly Party.
I
Was
think
that
we
the
would
question that we would
all party for
Yeah.
with Kelly Party for sure.
I know that wasn't
Who
the question,
wouldn't?
but yeah.
It was the subtext to the question.
Okay, good.
Charlotte, are you on the same page as Laura?
I agree that Heidi's charming personality and commitment to the character carried this. And I would say that like might be the only thing that carried it for me. This fell a bit flat for me. I really hate to say it because I love Heidi. But there just like wasn't enough substance. I got the premise in that this is a life coach that's just talking bullshit and really running on fumes and, you know, doesn't really have a strategy for you. I feel like there could have been more examples, more
I agree with that.
Yeah, more substantial interactions with Che, maybe her giving him actual advice or if he has a problem or a goal that he wants to set. And I know that they touched on that and she did something with like a letter in his name, but he doesn't have that letter. You know, I just kind of missed. I just feel like there were even some things they said that I kind of missed and I watched it twice and I didn't really get the Spider-Man thing. I guess that was supposed to be funny, but like
she committed, honey.
She committed. And that's it. Like I ended up laughing because she was committing so hard to it, but I really like just didn't understand. I don't know. I just I didn't get it. And so maybe it's a me thing, but I just felt like there wasn't enough substance. But again, Heidi carried it, so it still worked and the energy was high and maybe we just needed that high energy at that point in the show. So
Did she ever, because I watched it twice as well, and now I'm just like, I can't remember. Did she ever say she wrote a book or anything? Because I feel like that's such a life coach thing. Yeah, I feel like having
she just said she had like a PhD in loving yourself from the University of Me or something like that.
Knowing like a little too much about some life coaches, like I feel like there's so much that you can do. And especially like, you know, just hearing about the classes she would offer or like a tier program, like
an online course.
Yeah, a book or something. You know, there's just so much fun. So actually, I feel like this is like the good start to maybe a bigger sort of character that I could see happening for Heidi. And I hope you hear that and do it, girl.
Yeah.
Go get it,
Heidi. Believe in yourself, university.
We run it now, honey.
I log in after. Send your
I think we're all on the same page here. Heidi will sell a character like nobody's business, and it will work because Heidi's doing it. But the game of this character was not exceptionally strong. But I'll say on the second watch of it, I liked it more than the first time, and I didn't dislike it either time really. But the second time I was catching more of those little quips that she was doing with Che, so that did add on to it a little bit. Okay, well let's keep going. The People's Court with a K. It's all the Kardashian drama with a little more structure, with cameos once again from Khloe Kardashian and Kris Jenner, and this time Halsey. Charlotte, was this one a win?
Yeah, like I wanted it to be. You know what I mean? I really wanted it to be a win because...
But was it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, doing a Courtney impression is hilarious. She's so dry and Kim nailed it. I don't know. It was a good way to poke more fun at the Kardashians and some of their drama, so that was great. I thought the strengths were the cameos from not the Kardashians. I really hate to say it. OJ was the best by far. Closing on OJ was hilarious. Keenan killed it. I thought the Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox cameo was hilarious. It was so close, and I loved all the touching on current events kind of in that celebrity drama Kardashian world, but I don't know if that's enough to carry it, and maybe that was the problem, is that they relied a little too much on that, and so because of that, like, I liked the idea, I liked all of this, but it just fell a little flat for me. Maybe you guys can help us figure out why a little more specifically, but I wasn't all the way there.
Yeah. Laura, any brilliant insight for Charlotte?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with Charlotte. I think perhaps what fell a little flat or short, whatever we want to say, might have been because playing your sister is so close to you. You know, I think it's more fun for us to see Kim try to be 80 Bryant, you know, even though whatever. I mean, she's not like transforming, but it's fun to see her try to do that. Whereas Courtney, I mean, they didn't really even do a lot for like costuming for her, you know? So I felt like that's because she looks like her sister, you know? Like, what are you going to do? And maybe that's where it was. Like, if there had been a courtroom sketch where Kim had to like maybe go bigger, I think it would have captivated all of us a bit more. It's a fun premise. I enjoy like crazy courtroom situations. So I think there's like potential for something like that in the future. But yeah, like, I mean, I couldn't even imagine trying to play my brother and having like everyone be like spot on, you know, especially when you look like them. It's just so hard, you know. So
that's a really, really good point, because I did get a kick out of the initial realization of like, haha, Kim's going to do an impression of her sister. But had Heidi not been there playing Kim, I think I probably would have forgotten that Kim was not being Kim.
Yes.
So
that's a really, yeah, I think you're right. Cause like what's funny is when it's an extreme, and this was just a little too close. I mean, she did do the voice perfectly, of course, but yeah, you wanted something more extreme for it to be funnier. I wonder if it would have been.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I wonder if this is like a deep cut for like big Kardashian fans, you know, like if you're big on this family, it's like watching her do her sister, like an impression of her sister, that to me would probably mean a lot, you know?
No, I mean, I think that's a really good
point. On the nuances that are different about their personalities,
And in that, I totally agree with you, because then also they really did play into that with like some of the lines that Khloe said were like all of these words that she always says and that like real Kardashian fans probably loved, like slore and whatever. Like I totally agree with you. I think that's a really good point. And the Chris lines and like the stuff about Kylie and Kendall. I mean, honestly, those are funny. She was like, I made Khloe in 4 months. Like,
that was so funny.
That was hilarious. Yeah. So I think it's a good point. Like, it was catering in a good way to the Kardashian fans, which honestly was smart, because I'm sure there was a lot that tuned in just because Kim was there. And this sketch would have like really meant a lot to real big fans. So
this one's for you, honeys.
That's basically what like I had to say was, this is what I expected and had in mind for this episode. So I'm glad it's here, because it is, you want to give that to the people who are tuning in for the host. So I think that's a smart move. The standout for me was I love Chris's Kanye West impression. That was definitely the highlight of the sketch.
Oh God, he crushes it.
Yeah. The tweets. I love the tweets. Yes.
Yep. Okay, so People's Court, marginal win. Up next, everyone is making hard seltzers, and this Please Don't Destroy video. And I'm going to let you two really break this down, but before we do, I want to set up the important context of what we're seeing here, which is that these 3 guys, Please Don't Destroy, were technically hired this season as writers. But this is our first taste of what a lot of people sort of hypothesized might be happening, and that's that they're being given a good bit of free reign to make pre-tapes in their style and perform in them, even though they're not billed cast members, which is something we have not seen since The Lonely Island. You know, they hired Good Neighbor, and they put Beck and Kyle on the cast. They put Dave as a director and Nick as a writer. And Good Neighbor did their stuff with their voice, but the SNL way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now we're having these guys come in and do something a lot like The Lonely Island did and making it their way, their voice, they're performing it. And this was just a very fast-paced, quick-cut YouTube-style sketch and will likely be the first of many in what is, I believe they're trying to make, the new age of digital shorts. So this is a pretty big deal. And that with all that context put on your shoulders. Charlotte, were you here for it?
I was 100% here for it. I said before, the other bit was my favorite or second favorite. This was by far my favorite. I love the fast-paced energy of it. I love that it touched on this very real truism that we all face, which is like, oh my God, why are there so many seltzers now? And I love that it gets more extreme, and I love the intensity of it. I love the energy and I love the quick cuts. And I watched it like 3 times because I thought it was so funny and I laughed each time. And I'm just so excited about it. I really loved this sort of new voice, this sort of fresh voice coming in on the show. And it didn't feel like it was competing with the rest of the show. It still felt like it was part of the show and part of the cast and everything and writers. But it just felt a little newer. And I think it's really smart what they're doing because they do have such a following, on TikTok and on social media. And it's a great way to bring some of that fast-paced energy in and a little bit fresher energy. I'm a big fan. I loved it. I cackled and so many things worked about it. And I'm excited to see more.
I agree completely. Charlotte, I agree completely. Please don't destroy. My whole first experience with them was through TikTok. I know that they are big in the New York comedy community and there's mutuals. And I'm just so happy for them. I feel like, it's not only like great for them, it's great for SNL. I think you are trying to bring in a younger generation, Gen Z, Gen X. How old are they? I don't know. Let's not think about it. And they are big on TikTok. And I agree with you completely. I don't think that it felt competitive at all. It felt observational and just a little bit quirkier. And to be honest, that's kind of my style. So it really was a highlight for me. Like Kyle and Beck with Good Neighbor, I feel like that, knowing about their comedy before they were brought onto SNL, it moved me to watch them on SNL. So it works, and I'm really excited to just see what they do because it also, like you said, they are keeping their own style, but I don't know. There was a little merging to SNL with the seltzer sketch. And I think it was just the right balance to still be weird, but you're on cable or, I guess you're on Peacock.
Palatable.
Yeah. Okay. So it was the best of both worlds for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Big win here. It potentially historic, as historic as a Saturday Night Live sketch can be, thing we're seeing here. Very funny. I'm really glad y'all liked it and I enjoyed it as well. And I'm just really interested to see, how this continues. If I'm sure this is, the first of many and they will continue to do this. It definitely seems like this is what they were brought in for. And, they build them as writers, but they seems like they maybe had an agreement of we're going to do our own pre-tape thing and it's going to be us. We're going to be Please Don't Destroy does SNL,
And they come from
great.
Sorry. I was going to say they come from, comedy backgrounds. So they know the world. So
very well.
Their parents, or I mean, not that that matters, but I'm just saying it's in the family.
It's important to know.
Yeah.
It's important to note. And an interesting thing to discuss is that they do come from comedy. John Higgins' father is a producer on the show. And there was some controversy about that when they were announced. And, people were not happy. So it's interesting that they've come out with this that has been widely very, very well received. And I think, that's a big statement of no, we're funny in our own right. And did it help us? I'm sure. But we didn't get here for nothing, So
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
big
Still
win
gotta
here.
prove yourself at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, knocked it out of the park there. Let's get into our 10-to-1. Turn your good girl into a bad bitch with Skims for thick dogs. What a line. Laura, was this a win?
Oh man, I mean, it was comical. I feel like
Mhm.
it was getting up my alley of like that weird comedy. So I enjoyed the risk of doing this. It wasn't my most favorite, but I'd rather you do something outlandish like this. Yes.
Yeah. I liked this. I like dogs, so there was
You
dogs
love
in the sketch.
dogs.
I was
Is
excited.
that what won you over?
Are we all?
So yeah, this was fun with some really great lines in it. But the thing that stood out to me is from a production standpoint, this is the perfect sketch to put at the end of the show because it's so easy to
Mhm.
make cuts from. There's not a story to it. So you don't have to worry about like if I cut this joke, this isn't going to make sense later. It's just like, all right, well, this dog's cut, this dog's cut, this dog's cut. And now the sketch is a minute shorter and it's just really easy to do. So that I was sort of piecing that together in real time. I was like, oh, this is like really smart to put at the end of the show because it is this style of sketch is so easy to do that to. And that was a fun thing for me to piece together as I watched it, just thinking about the how the show gets made. Charlotte, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I would agree with you guys. I thought it was funny. And yeah, now that you said that, that makes sense about the, ease at the end of the show. I don't know. It reminded me of, remember when they did Spanx for babies?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
years ago now when Spanx was
funny.
really big. So
Mhm.
immediately reminded me of that. So that might have been a bit of a hindrance for me because then I was sort of expecting as they kept saying like these skin tight garments on your like pudgy dog. And then because it was live, all they could do was put on just like, the costumes did the best they could. But I think
Right.
part of me was kind of hoping it would have been a pre-taped scenario where they could have done some special effects to actually see these dogs like completely
Mhm.
slimmed in to an extreme degree. And I just think that would have made it that much funnier if it was like a pre-tape actual commercial parody.
Fair enough. Yeah. I much of it seemed like it was cut, so we'll never know what we missed. But
That's true.
We'll never know. We'll never know. Cute dogs.
there may have been some of those beats,
That's true.
but yeah,
That's true.
it was a fun, goofy way to end the night for sure.
Mhm.
And with that, that's the end of the rundown. Let's get into our overall thoughts and feelings. And up first is moment of the night. Charlotte, what is it?
I think my moment of the night is that exact moment where Henry Fink, Alex Moffat, thinks he catches Colin in his hand, and then he turns and Colin hits him, and then they're both scare each other. I think what it is that they both committed so deeply to the moment, and you saw that spontaneity, which is like every actor's dream to like create true spontaneity and a spark of a moment. So I absolutely loved that moment. That was like pure joy and hilarity.
That's a good one. Like Alex had a lot of really good timing in there because I think right after that moment, he sort of just stared off for a second
Yeah.
and then like came
So
back in,
good.
and that was just so great.
Yes.
My moment, I'm gonna give it to when we cut through Screwdriver, mustache, finger, and then we just see blood shooting out of the tube. Just the moment where you can sort of see where this is going, but to actually like literally see the blood coming out, that was a great moment for me. Laura, what's your moment of the night?
You guys both chose really good moments, and I wish I could just claim them all as my moment. This is tough because I really did love Terry Fink. I still do. I've not changed my position, but just to like have some variety in this conversation, I would say my moment of the night would be, I know it's like the whole thing, but Kim's monologue was just like, to me, jaw dropping. Like I felt like all of these jokes were just so scandalous. And I was like, oh, I'm being bad watching this, So maybe it's a me thing. But yeah, I didn't know we were allowed. I didn't know we were like allowed to say all this. It's like, am I going to get in trouble? But yeah, that was my moment. It was her.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't sure what to expect. And
we weren't sure.
That was a pleasant surprise for sure. Let's talk about best sketch. Charlotte?
For me, it's a tie. Hate to be that person.
Say it.
Tie between the Seltzer and Fink movie reviewer.
You gotta pick.
This is really tough.
I gotta pick?
You have to pick. It's the rules.
Okay, well, I'll choose mine after I hear what you two choose.
What?
Just to make sure that that each of them are chosen. Because I have a feeling you two aren't. Why don't you guys go? I'm a tie until they choose.
Okay, this is cheating the system and you're going to get me fired, but I'll allow it. You're welcome. For me, the best sketch was the lottery one. I don't think we're surprised there. I was pretty into it. It was just so goofy. And I've been trying to get more in touch with the silly and remembering that comedy's supposed to be fun. So
everything okay, Catherine?
Sometimes I just feel no, it's just like sometimes I get a lot of projects and I get overwhelmed and I'm like, Catherine, it's stupid. It's supposed to like just have fun with it, And so like to me that was just a good reminder of just like be silly. Let the mustache come out of the lottery tube. And I really liked that. So yeah, the lottery was a huge, huge win for me. Laura, what's yours?
Very valuable lesson. Just wise what you said there. I just recently took a clowning class and my teacher said, an idiot is the best thing you can be. So I'll be getting that tattoo on my lower back next week. So my best sketch, to answer your question. That's tough. I too was at a crossroads, but I am going to make a decision. And
okay. All right.
Okay. I think it's going to be grown-ass women. And that was hard for me because I really liked Terry Fink. I really liked the hard seltzer sketch as well. But I think I really enjoyed grown-ass women because it's a merging of these worlds that we've talked about the entire time, which is like a smart script with silly physical humor. So I just felt like that delivered on across the board.
Nice. So Charlotte, I don't think we ended up helping you at all.
No, you didn't. I also just realized that I think several times I called him Henry Fink when it's Terry Fink, so I can't even say the character's name.
I don't know. Is it Terry or Henry? We should
I just
respect
looked it up.
character.
It is Terry, and I said Henry at one point for sure.
Oh,
it kind of works.
Okay.
Could be either. Just want to apologize to everybody.
To Terry.
Mostly to Terry. Okay, if it's best sketch of the night, so then I wonder if technically the other one is a character. Like if we go on a technicality, then maybe
if you love Terry, just say you love Terry.
I love Terry, but I also love that other sketch, the seltzer sketch. It's like really a tie for me.
Okay. Your moment was Terry, so give best sketch to Please Don't Destroy.
There we go.
Okay, fine. Okay, that's a good compromise. Okay, so best sketch would be the seltzer sketch by I forget the name. What is it?
Please Don't Destroy.
Please Don't
Boys,
Destroy.
did you hear that? Charlotte loves your group.
Charlotte loves that character in this group so much she can't remember either of their names.
I always forget names in like key moments, like when I'm recording a podcast.
No, this is good. This is good so nobody gets too high on their little pedestal. You're like, oh, I can't remember their names.
Stay humble, bitches.
Yeah.
All right,
Charlotte O'Tremba forgot your name.
The grueling decision has been made that Charlotte's best sketch is the hard seltzer sketch. Let's get into MVP. I thought this was a pretty even episode as far as our players. There wasn't really any one person that was just everywhere. So I'm going to do something I never would have thought that I would do. And I'm going to give MVP to Kim Kardashian West.
Whoa!
Because she was in every sketch. I mean, she has to be. She's the host, Catherine. I don't know if you knew that. That's how SNL.
Oh. I've never watched it before.
Yeah, you're new here.
It's okay.
No, I know because yes, she was in everything. She has to be in everything, but she did a good job in everything.
She did.
You know,
She
she came to play. She surprised us all. She was ready to make fun of herself. I think
That's right.
it seemed like she was having a really good time, and I thought she did a good job. You know, she didn't have to take on doing an 80 impression or doing a Courtney impression, and she did. And I really respect what she brought to the table. I thought
Mhm.
I thought she did a good job. A lot of people were, you know, really worried about it, and all week I was sort of like, it's gonna be fine, guys. It's really all right. Like if she's terrible, they'll just not use her a whole lot. But they used her a lot because I thought you know, she showed up. She was game for it. She was having fun, and so Kim stood out to me, and I'm not ashamed.
Charlotte, what did you think?
I might agree with Catherine. Honestly, like because you know, I do give props to Kim. Everybody underestimated her again, and she delivered. No, she wasn't perfect, but she was there. And again, her monologue, I was very impressed. I just want to give her props because I feel like she went in with a lot of low expectations and she carried it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give it to Kim too. Not because I'm a follower, but I also agree she could have really put the stops on for the monologue, and that to me, you guys know I loved it. It was jaw-dropping. But also, like, I don't know if she knows she's doing it, but she has this like dry sense of delivery that it's like it just works. Like I don't know. I really don't know if she's doing it. If she knows she's doing it, but like it is a nice contrast to all the other character actors, you know? So to me, it was like it put a spotlight on her, just her being herself.
Yeah, I mean, in the
Agree.
insanity that is her life, you have to learn to respond that way. I
Yeah.
Oh my
think.
God, yeah. So true.
Well, let's get into the big one. On a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck, how would you rate this episode?
I'm going to give it, because there were really only 3 or 4, really only 3 sketches that were home runs for me. I'm going to give this a decent, which is a little harsh, maybe, but that's where I am. Do I need to give more justification?
No, a decent's a 3 out of 5. That makes sense for what you said. I'm going to land in the exact same spot because there was one thing that really hit it out of the park for me. Most of it was kind of middle of the road. Like I liked it. I didn't love it. Nothing terrible though. Nothing that I was just like, ugh, why I can't believe I have to watch this twice. So I think it was very firmly in decent territory. Laura, what about you?
Yeah, I would say decent as well. That's where I fell. You know, this stuff is hard. And when you hear 3 out of 5, I'm like, okay, yeah, that helps me understand. I mean, there were moments that popped for me. But yeah, overall, yeah, decent. Decent.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh.
It's decent. It's decent.
When you say
Good
it in
stuff.
a different voice, you're like, okay, decent.
It's a 3 out of 5. It's middle of the road. This was good. This was serviceable. It wasn't fantastic. And that's perfectly fair. We're allowed to feel that way. And that's that. Thank you both for being on the show. This was so fun.
Thank
so
you. I had a blast. Laura, I loved doing this with you
Yeah.
this time. This is so fun.
Hope
Yeah.
to get us all together again.
For sure. And guys, you can see both Laura and Charlotte in a sketch I wrote and directed called Top 5 Therapy Alternatives.
Oh my gosh.
And also on October 27th, Charlotte will be performing in a show with the sketch team I'm directing at the Laugh Index Theater. So you can check that out at litcomedy.com. And then the next week on November 5th, Laura and I, our other team, you can see Laura performing with Boogie Manja with our team Wilburn there at twitch.tv/Boogie Manja.
We also have character showcase coming up on October 21st at the Knitting Factory at 8 p.m. And it's free, people. It is free. I got a grant from the city. So come on, let's fill the room and make it worthwhile. We've got a lot of people that both I think Catherine and Charlotte have probably even met that are wonderful character actors. And we're just so excited to have a great cast. And it's produced by Humor Darling, which is my comedy platform. So we're hoping to do more of that.
Okay, well, that's a wrap. Thanks to Charlotte O. Trimba and Laura Ornella. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Sam Bowers, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back in 1 week when SNL returns with host Rami Malek and musical guest Young Thug. But until then, this has been episode number 143 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Catherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.